Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 4th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Aman. How you doing, Aman?
Hi, Taran. I'm good. Hey, everyone in the chat. If there's any Beyonce fans out there, it is Beyonce's birthday, and you know that is our national holiday. It is B-Day. So happy Beyonce Day to any Beyonce fans out there, September 4th.
There you go. Well, we are here to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 21 live feeds. It was day 77 in the house, and it was a bit of a campaigny day, as Tommy and Christy are going to be working very hard on Nicole's vote to keep Jess, and they're going to get interrupted lots of times.
Yeah, it's getting down to the point where it's not really easy to have that many private conversations anymore because everybody sort of is just everywhere, and there's not really a lot of people to talk to, so if people feel like they're not involved in a conversation, it's easy to sort of just like, hey, what's going on in here, guys? What's going on? You guys inspiring? So
Yes. So we started the day with Tommy talking to Christy. Now, you obviously, if we go back to the day before here, that Cliff and Jess are on the block next to each other. Tommy is sort of seeing that he feels like there is a deal happening between Cliff and Nicole and Jackson and Holly, and Tommy feels like he needs to somehow break this up, and he was thinking about, is there something that I can do? He had a plan last night when he talked to the cameras, and his plan was that, he explains now to Christy, his plan is to get Jess to go talk to Jackson and Holly and tell them that that Christy and Tommy are actually secretly working with Cliff and Nicole to make Jackson and Holly feel sketched out by Cliff and Nicole, like maybe they're double dealing, and then maybe they'll decide that they want Cliff to go.
yeah, I mean, it's sort of shoddy because I feel like it's more likely that this backfires on you two because they already have reason, Jackson and Holly speaking, they already have reasons to want to get rid of both you and Christy. So saying that you are also trying to crack deals with the final four that they've already created, they have all the incentive in the world to believe Cliff and Nicole over you because they've already been working with them. And it just feels like this is like you're putting yourself in the line of fire to save yourself, but you just end up getting shot. So I don't really know why. I think this plan to me didn't really make too much sense. I kind of understand what he's thinking, but I think he's overestimating just how much that Jackson might want to turn on Cliff and Nicole when they really have no reason to. Like, they don't win anything. They're like, Chrissy's obviously been coming after them. Like, doesn't seem like it'll work to me.
Yeah. So Christy says, okay, well, my idea was to get Jess to make a deal with Jackson to put up Nicole and Tommy if she wins the HOH, and then she can just throw the HOH. That was my idea. I hate both of these ideas.
Yeah, I mean, Jessica's gonna win HOH. Like that's what you're gonna. That's the pitch. Like, if I win HOH next week, I'll put up. Like, then everything is dependent on Jessica. Like, and she's not someone that you can have a lot of confidence in. I mean, sure. I mean, all they have right now is Holly. Holly is the only person that is eligible to win, but that's just such a high risk. I mean, they already have Cliff and Nicole. They already have people that they feel like they can trust. So. And now that you already put Jessica on the block, why would Jackson agree to then keeping her there after making it known that he wants to target her too?
Mm-hmm. And again, all that they're doing with both of these ideas is throwing Nicole and Cliff under the bus when those are the people that they need to be working on in order to get them on their side heading into next week. But by the end of the conversation, they come around to the idea that they do want to pitch to Nicole first. And this is an idea I can get behind because it's one lane, and they can pitch this idea, and if it works, then they can keep Jess, and if it doesn't work, then maybe at least they've made some progress with Nicole, as long as they stick to this particular line of strategy. And so the idea is to pitch to Nicole that they should have some kind of final four with themselves, Jess, and Nicole. And at the very least, what they should be pitching here is that Nicole should be against Jackson and Holly. If that also means Nicole is willing to keep Jess, great. But if it means keeping Cliff, but still having Nicole on their side, that's also great. It's not entirely how they're making this pitch, but it is potentially a side effect of it. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But that's the idea. That's the idea. And that's the pitch that they're going to be making all day.
Yeah, I mean it's on the right track. So we got two bad ideas out of the way. Now we have like a semi good idea. I mean, I feel like I feel like it's still like a bit of like a double dip situation where they want Nicole to be on their side, and as long as they can get Nicole, like if they get Nicole and Jess, great. If they don't get Jess, but they still keep Nicole, that's still good. But at the same time, I feel like all the scheming to keep Jess is still, I feel like you have to like go all in. You know what I mean? I feel like you need to sit Jess, you need to sit Nicole down. You need to tell her this is exactly what we want to happen. If we keep Jess, then we have at least the four of us that are going to be against Holly. That likens our odds. Like the odds of us, any of us winning HOH, it's 5 to or 4 to 1, right? So I feel like if you frame it that way, I feel like it's more of an incentive for Nicole to go along with it. I feel like, yeah, she's really, really close with Cliff, and they really and Jess really hasn't done a lot of favors for herself in throwing Nicole under the bus for the past couple of weeks. So I get that there's a battle there, but I still feel like it's at that point in the game where you can probably persuade her, like, look, are you sure you really want to go to the end with Cliff and Jackson and Holly? Are you sure what have you done in this game, Nicole? What sort of big move have you made besides saving yourself from eviction many moons ago? What have you done? What is on your resume? This could be on your resume. Like, pitch it like that. Make it like this is a deal that she is signing on with. Like, she is the person making this move. This is her baby. Give her a baby in this game. I feel like that could work.
It could work. It honestly could work. But again, I can't help but feel like the better play is to just make Nicole try to get Cliff on board here, instead of pitching this as let's keep Jess, pitch it as Nicole, we need to be against Jackson and Holly. We're concerned that Cliff is not, and you should talk to Cliff. And that's kind of where they end up. But that then if Cliff isn't on board, then maybe Nicole at that point feels like they'll keep Jess around, and that will be Nicole's idea, and Nicole will feel great about it. And if Nicole is able to talk Cliff into targeting Jackson and Holly, then great, you don't need Jess. In fact, it's better to not have Jess, because that increases your odds of getting to the end. Cliff is just as easy to beat in the final 3 HOH as Jess, in my opinion, and a much better option to have there, because he's a lot less tempting to take to the end. So that's how I feel they should be pitching, but they're still pitching almost that way, and they're almost there, and so we'll see how much success this has throughout the day. Nicole starts the day talking to the cameras. She continues to be worried about Jackson and Holly. She does not want to move forward with them, but Cliff does seem to want to, and she doesn't love that. She thinks that maybe it can make sense to nominate Tommy and Christy in the next HOH, and perhaps this double that they're starting to anticipate, then work with whichever one stays, to which I'm like, yeah, duh. But then she's like, well, maybe if one of them comes down off the block and Jackson and Holly go up, then maybe at that point I take out Jackson or Holly. To which I say, no, what are you talking about? You mean put 2 people on the block in one pair, and then when one of them wins the veto, put up another person from the different pair, and then evict the person from the different pair, and now you have that pair gunning for you, and the person the leftover person from the pair you evicted also gunning after you? That's the worst possible plan, Nicole. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it does really open yourself up to just huge critiques from either end. Or, maybe, I mean, we've seen people escape from precarious situations, much worse precarious situations in this game sometimes. So, and Nicole is such a timid figure in that house. I could see maybe her getting out of this somehow and being like, I didn't know what to do in the end. I just sort of like, I was just trying to do what's best for my game. I'm sorry if I screwed up. I don't know like what I was doing. I'm so stupid. Da, 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 da. And then the survivors of either pair are still going after each other. I mean,
Maybe, but
I
like,
could see
why
that.
put yourself in the precarious
It's
situation anyway? Because you're already in a fantastic position.
You're definitely yeah. I can see that point, but I mean, I guess I sort of just understand the line of thinking. I'm like, it's a bad plan. It's a
terrible plan. She's already in good with both sides, and she's so worried about Jackson and Holly because like the initial worry for Jackson and Holly comes from the idea that they're working both sides. That they're pretending they're with Cliff and Nicole, and they're pretending that they're with Tommy and Christy, but that really they're actually with Tommy and Chris. Like that they're working both sides, and that they're in the best spot, and that they're super dangerous in the game, and that she can't work with them. But the idea is that like now she's being approached, she will be approached by Christy and Tommy, promising her, we're not working with them, we are targeting them. That's great for Nicole. That means they're not playing both sides. And if you think about, competition prowess, yes, Jackson has won a lot of physical competitions, but mentally they are at least on par, if not significantly less inclined to win mental competitions than Tommy and Christy. If you're talking about which pair to go with, even without counting that, even without counting mental competitions, it's just one pair or the other. There's nothing special about either one. They're both capable of beating you in the final two, and they're both capable of beating you in competitions. If anything, Jackson and Holly, again, less likely to beat you in competitions, and less likely to beat you in the final two, in my opinion, if you take Holly versus Christy or Tommy, who I think could both theoretically beat her. Whereas I think she has a better chance against Holly versus Jackson. Or versus Tommy or Christy. But she is just so hung up on this idea that Jackson and Holly are so dangerous. And so it's getting her to the point where she is so focused on not working with them that she's not thinking about how to actually move forward in the game. This idea that she should put up Tommy and Christy, pissing them off. One of them comes down. She puts up Jackson. Jackson goes 100%. Tommy and Christy are now, wow, we were just targeted by Nicole. She just won a competition. Holly just got absolutely backstabbed by Nicole. Jackson went home. She's not happy with Nicole. Nicole just won a competition showing that she's a threat. She still has a pair. She's going to side with Tommy and Christy. Of course she would, because she just got backstabbed and there's still a threat there. So it's the worst possible move in a spot where you have very little bad moves to make. And I don't like it. I don't think she'll do it because, again, this is just her kind of thinking of how do I not work with Jackson and Holly moving forward. But she really needs to stop focusing on this idea that I can't work with Jackson and Holly, and because it's blinding her to the dangers of Tommy and Christy, and that's really, really bad.
I agree. Okay. I mean, I agree. I do, but I also am like, I understand it because like if she were to put up Tommy and Christy, one of them comes down, you replace them with Jackson goes home. Are Tommy and Christy really, really, really not going to continue to go after Holly after that?
100% they're not. They have no intention of going after Holly. They love Holly. They've even told Nicole they want to work with Holly. Especially if they didn't have to be the ones to take out Jackson, they will 100% work with Holly because they see Cliff and Nicole as a tight pair that's dangerous to have in the game. Nicole just won a competition. They are 100% putting up Cliff and Nicole at that point, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I just feel like we've been at this like this war between the Jackson and Holly and Christy and Tommy, and yes, it's been more so a Christy and Jackson type deal, and with Jackson out of the equation, that really does crack the game wide open again, and so things will continue to shift and change. But I just feel like we have seen people that have made utter dumb mistakes in this game that have like come out of nowhere, and seemingly they still seem to escape those somehow because they've been such a non-factor in the game that even that one big move, they're like, Okay, well, thanks for doing that. Like, I mean, I understand your point, but I guess I was just seeing it from more of like a, is this something that she can survive? And I don't think that it's necessarily that's something that she wouldn't be able to. I don't know if it's, I just feel like Jackson leaving would be such a weight off of Christy's shoulders. I don't know if she's gonna be like, let's get Nicole out next because she got Jackson out. I don't know if I see that. But
Well, but who else are they going to target? It's not going to be Tommy, and it's definitely not going to be Holly, in my opinion, which only leaves Cliff and Nicole.
I mean, I would.
I think they'll target Cliff before Nicole, but
yeah, I thought Cliff would go before Nicole, and you're probably.
But that's still super risky. Like she's in a position.
Risky. It's very risky.
She's in a position where every other move is not risky, and there's no point in making the risky move. She doesn't benefit from this at all because there's still a tight pair on one side. There's still and they're the most likely pair to work with the remainder of the other pair. Whereas if Tommy or Christy left, Jackson and Holly would still continue to work with Cliff and Nicole and not target them. And so again, it's just like it's the only possible move she could make that would put her in danger heading into the final five. Every other move, she is completely safe, and so there's no reason to make this move at all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If I am of the thought that this is probably not the move that she should make going forward, but I'm saying if she were to make it, maybe there's room.
She can make a bad move and still have outs, for sure. I mean,
I guess that's just the point that I'm making.
But there's no point to make the move, I guess, is the point.
Yeah, right. So you probably shouldn't put yourself in a bad spot like that, but I don't know. Maybe I just want to see something fucking funny happen.
All right. Well, Christy does talk to Nicole, and she pitches that she is not targeting Jackson. And again, like this is, Nicole is worried that one of the reasons why Nicole is worried about Jackson and Holly is because she is worried that she is working with or that they are working with Christy and Tommy. So from Christy's point of view, she feels like I need to convince Nicole that I'm not working with Jackson and Holly in order to get her on my side. From my point of view, that's just further evidence that Nicole shouldn't do anything with them because she's, again, being convinced that she's in the great spot that she is. But again, Nicole being a little focused on Jackson and Holly, I think is like, oh, she's not working with them. That's great. And I think that like if she thought about it some more, she'd see that like, okay, so if they're not working with them, then they are targeting each other, and there's no point for me to pick between the two. But I think she is just a little bit wrapped up in the rhetoric here with the anti-Jackson stuff. And so she's like, okay, she's promising she's not working with Jackson and Holly. And Christy's like, but Cliff is. I think Cliff is working with them, and that's kind of where Christy is pushing this. Jess is also going to talk to Nicole and make a big pitch, talking about how you've always like been my like person, like the whole season. You have always been like the person that like I have trusted like the most out of like anyone. Like the only reason I like did the Black Widows at like all was because you were like in it, Nicole.
I mean, Taran for the win again.
She promises that she is only pitching to Nicole, won't be pitching to Jackson and Holly because she's targeting them. She's willing to go up as a pawn if she stays, that she is Nicole's person, that Tommy and Christy, she believes are not working with Jackson and Holly and will also be targeting Jackson and Holly, so they should go to the four together, herself, Christy, Tommy, and Nicole, which again should be screaming red flags, in my opinion, to Nicole, that's a terrible final four for her because this has clearly been talked about between Christy and Jess. Like, they're a thing. Like, you don't have Jess. You know you don't have Jess. And that's what Nicole is going to say to the cameras after this pitch, which is that this is really hard. I don't like this. But I can't go with Jess. I've been with Cliff longer, and Jess is claiming that she's always been my person. But just earlier this week, she said she didn't trust me, that she said she's felt played by me, and that she feels like I haven't been on her side. Like, Why would I want to go work with Jess if she's claiming to be my person? She definitely hasn't been, and she had Kat. Like, come on, what are you trying to do? Which is totally valid, but that's totally valid amongst a plethora of other things. And I do think that Nicole is feeling a little bit, not even a little bit, I think very stressed about this whole situation, about this whole idea of like, oh, Jess is pitching to me now. I don't want to work with Jackson and Holly, but Cliff does. Like, maybe I should be considering this. I'm not sure. So there's definitely a pressure point to push here with Nicole, and if you keep pushing it, she might eventually break. As of right now, she is not breaking. She says to the cameras, if I go with Jess, I have two people really mad at me, Jackson and Holly. If I go with Cliff, nobody's mad at me. Tommy and Christy understand I'm close to Cliff. They're bigger targets. Jackson and Holly won't be mad. Cliff won't be mad. Nobody's mad at me. Which is like, yeah, exactly. That's why it's the better move, I think. She doesn't believe that Cliff would want to go to the final two with Jackson. He's too smart for that. So she has some faith there in Cliff. That's where she stands at this point in the day.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, Jessica really hasn't done herself any favors. I mean, you throw somebody's name through the mud for weeks at a time, and then all of a sudden, like, I know that it's the game of Big Brother and things can change, but last minute pitches to people that you haven't been that particularly kind about, it's not gonna work, especially when they have someone else sitting right next to them that has been with them the entire time. Like, she is Cliff's favorite angel, and that just is what it is, and there really isn't any breaking that bond at this point. It's just it's too little too late, and it's such a shame, because I say this all the time. I find it so interesting that like somebody like Jessica can have like the perfect HOH. You win HOH, you win Veto, you get 2 targets on the block, 2 big ones, you get out a nice and big juicy big one, and then the rest of your game is complete and utter like non-existence. And it's like, without Jess having any power in this game, she literally, if she doesn't have an HOH under her belt, she literally can't do anything to influence the game. And now you're trying to get to Nicole of all people because you think that she is somebody that's going to, you think you can tug on her heartstrings of all people. It doesn't work that way, sis. Like, you got to go. I mean, you were already practicing leaving the house the other day, so go ahead. Go.
I mean, I will say, during Jess's HOH, I said it was far from perfect. I said the way that she was handling it, I felt was very, very bad. So I think the answer to that question is that it wasn't a perfect HOH. It seemed like it was on paper. If you only look at like nominations, competition outcomes. But in terms of the way she handled it, she did really bad.
How she arrived there was,
she did not get any information from anyone. She said it wasn't her business. She alienated her allies in Nick and pushed him to the other side. She considered nominating Nick and had to be talked out of it. There are a lot of things that she was doing wrong during that week. It's just that people tend to remember the highlights. So that's where she stands there. But I do think it's something worth considering here. This idea that Nicole does seem to be, there's a lot of debate now. Is Nicole actually considering this, or is she just playing it up, or is she just stressed, or whatever? I think that there's definitely a possibility here that Nicole flips. I do. I think there's a possibility. And that's on me for not seeing it before, because I definitely underestimated Nicole's wishy-washiness and her ability to turn a very simple decision into a very complicated decision. The same thing happened the week that Cliff was on the block next to Kat. Ultimately, she went with the right call there. But I do think the right call is a little less clear than before, than it was when it was Cliff and Kat on the block, where that one was a very, very clear-cut choice. This one, I feel, is a little more murky. There is some reason to consider this idea from Tommy and Christy They are pitching to her, and they will continue to pitch to her, that she can't beat Cliff in the final two, she can't beat Jackson in the final two, and that she has a much better shot against them in the final two, which I disagree with. Christy or Tommy will easily beat Nicole in the final two, in my opinion. But she can beat Jess, I think. And Jess is the only person left in the game that Nicole has a decent shot at beating, even without just like crazy other stuff happening or bitter juries happening or whatever. And so that's really the main purpose of potentially keeping Jess. If we look at this whole thing, if she keeps Jess, yes, Jackson and Holly will be mad. Will they be mad enough to target her in the double eviction? Probably not. I mean, Tommy and Christy also just betrayed them, and they're bigger threats. Jess is still there as a big threat. They probably will see those three as a trio who convinced naive Nicole to flip over to their side. It'll probably be like, Christy, how did she manage it again? What have we done? We made a mistake. We need to target her. They'll probably still be the targets, both Tommy and Christy, I would imagine, and so that's fine. And even if that isn't the case, just Holly competing, and if Holly doesn't win, then Holly and Jackson will be up on the block, and one of them will go home. And then you're looking at a spot where no, you don't really have any solid allies, but at the same time, you're not really a big threat, and you might have a chance to kind of weasel your way down to the final three with Jess, at which point you have a chance to win and take Jess, and maybe then you can win the game. And that's kind of the best case, most optimistic scenario for her voting out Cliff here.
Yeah, I mean, I think, pretty much almost everybody in that house can beat her, except Jess. And keeping her around is beneficial. I mean, Tommy and Chris, like Holly and Jackson will be upset, but then it's, if the next competition, it's 4-1, you have everybody except Holly gunning for the HOH, or that will be on your side gunning for the HOH. And then even if Holly does win, she still has to deal with Tommy and Christy. So, I feel like getting just to the final two seat with you is like, that's a tall order. So you're really going to have to like really kick it into high gear if this is what you want to do. But like I said before, like this can be your baby in this game. This can be the last stretch, the winning narrative that you can provide about how you took the reins. Because right now, getting to the final two for you, the questions that you're going to get right now, Nicole, are: all you did was ride Cliff's coattails. What did you do in this game? You were pretty much quiet ever since you almost were about to get evicted. What have you done? Show me your resume. And she really doesn't have anything to put on it. So, I mean, this is final seven. Like we're this isn't the beginning of the game anymore. You have to start thinking about what is going to get you to the end and what's going to get you that win. And this could potentially get her that win.
Yes, and this is something that I talked about yesterday, the idea that if Jackson was flipped and Cliff went home, that might actually benefit Nicole, but that Nicole doing it herself, I think, is not the right decision. And thinking about it more, because it seems like more and more of a possibility, I stand with that analysis. While that is a potentially appeasing path to the end for Nicole, I don't love it. And one of the reasons I don't love it is that if she turns on Jackson and Holly here, I think she loses their jury vote against anybody she sits next to. That's 2 jury votes. That's not great. I think that at that point, they already hate Christy. They already hate Tommy. They don't hate Tommy, but they already are annoyed with Tommy, and they hate Christy. They really don't like where Christy stands. But they never shook Christy's hand. They haven't pledged their loyalty to Christy in the way that they have to Nicole. I think that if Nicole betrays them in this way and then they end up going home, that is really going to burn them a lot more than Christy. The fact that they were loyal to Nicole, truly loyal to Nicole, and won an HOH for her to protect her, and then betrayed her, and then she betrayed them. They are looking for somebody to be against in terms of their jury vote, like who has betrayed them. And I think Nicole will be that person. I think that very much so that she will lose their jury votes if she does this. If she is the one to evict Cliff, I think that not only will they be upset that she betrayed them, but they'll be upset that she betrayed Cliff, and they will not want to vote for her in the end, even over Jess or Christy. Certainly, Tommy would get their vote. So that's that is one scenario there. One negative to this move. Another negative to this move is that you cannot underestimate Christy and Tommy, and she should know this. She should know this because she is the person who last week and this week were saying, man, if Christy survives the block 4 weeks in a row, that's so dangerous. She is so good at this game. The fact that Christy is making progress on her against Cliff, her closest ally, should be telling her something, that this is dangerous. Christy is far more dangerous in this game than both Jackson and Holly put together, and that's because she is willing to do anything. She's willing to do anything in this game, and Nicole should be able to recognize that because it's a very dangerous spot to be. So here's what I think will happen if Nicole sides with Christy and evicts Cliff, in the idea that maybe she'll be able to keep on the sidelines in the shadows and get to the end with Jess, is that I guarantee you Christy and Tommy, then if for some reason Holly wins HOH, or maybe they manage, here's her best case scenario, right? Christy wins the next HOH. She puts up Jackson and Holly. Jackson goes home. Now it's the final 5, and it's Christy, Tommy, Jess, Holly, and Nicole. Let's say Holly wins the next HOH. Okay, great. Nicole's not on her radar, but here's what will be on her radar. Christy will go to Nicole, or go to Holly, and be like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. The only reason we turned against you is because Nicole came to us and told us that you had a Final Four with her. So we thought that you betrayed us. And Holly will be like, no, that was never true. And Christy will be like, oh my God, I got played by Nicole. I can't believe it. Nicole is so dangerous in this game. She's been playing innocent this whole time. And she's secretly a mastermind. She betrayed her closest ally in Cliff. Can you believe that? She did it by tricking us. Like, oh my God, she's turned us all against each other this whole time. That's just who Christy is, and she will be attempting that. She will absolutely be throwing Nicole under the bus, especially in if it's Christy's life on the line, she'll throw anybody under the bus except for perhaps Tommy, and she'll certainly throw Nicole under the bus before Jess, and certainly will take Jess to the end before Nicole. It leaves her in a bad spot where she doesn't have the tools to handle that situation. In my opinion, she just doesn't have the ability to navigate those waters on her own. I don't think this is the right move for her, even though there are some appealing aspects to it. And if Cliff left by Jackson's hand, I do think that would be okay for her game. But for her to do it herself, I do think it's not a good move, and she shouldn't be doing it. And I don't think she will, but I do think the possibility is open here, Aman.
Okay, so yeah, that was great. Sorry guys, I don't know what happened, but I'm back.
I had for those listeners of the podcast who were not watching, Aman disappeared for a while, so I was vamping.
Disappeared. The computer just turned off. I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. But I'm back. Okay, anyway. Yeah, Jess staying is a potentially very good thing, but then that calls for a lot of things to happen afterwards. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's a very tall order for you to fulfill, especially with somebody like you just said, like a player of Nicole's caliber. She really just hasn't shown us enough for us to believe that she has any kind of social graces to get herself out of the situation, without depending on the sheer I don't want to say hatred, that's a strong word, but just without depending on the sheer want of other players to get other people out before her. You know, I feel like it's very easy for things to get shifted onto Nicole. She did a good job of keeping herself safe that 1 week. I don't know if she can do that again, especially when there really aren't that many targets left in the house. It's down to the final 5 at that point. It's a lot to ask of yourself. And just on top of the fact that, like, I don't even know if she can really do that to Cliff. I don't think that she has it in her. Like, she's such a kind and sweet person. I really just can't see her being like, well, Cliff, gotta go. Like, no, she's not gonna be able to do that. And Because like you said, like who else is she gonna have left to really play the game with at that point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, there are lots of people that are saying like, oh, she's just toying with Tommy and Christy. She's just entertaining herself. It's something to do. I really disagree with that. I think that she is genuinely struggling with this. This is not fun for Nicole. It's definitely not fun for Nicole. She does not want to be doing this, but I think that she just gets sucked into this because it's just kind of how she plays the game, and it's definitely her biggest weakness in the game. She's going to have another conversation with Christy where Christy again promises that she's not working with Jackson and Holly. She says that Nicole can't beat Cliff in the final two, but the four of them, Tommy, Jess, and herself, have an equal shot with Nicole, which is not the case either. Nicole says she is worried about Jackson and Holly. She wants to talk to Cliff to get a sense of where his head is at in the double eviction. She already knows where Cliff's head is at, so that does point a little bit to this idea that maybe she's not being 100% upfront with Christy and Tommy, but she does kind of hint that like maybe we can make something work with Cliff. Like maybe we don't have to keep Jess. Maybe we can get Cliff to our side, and I can talk to Cliff, and we can figure out if Cliff is okay to kind of work against Jackson and Holly as well. She does kind of imply that if Cliff did say that he wanted to put up Christy and Tommy, that would worry her. And so that's kind of where they leave that conversation off. After Christy leaves, Nicole says to the cameras, "Why does it always come down to me?" Like, she's struggling with this. Like, it is hard for her. And my answer to that question, Nicole, is that it always comes down to you because you are the weakest link in every single vote. And people know that they can pressure you. That's why. It can be a good thing to always be the swing vote in Big Brother. It can be a good thing if you're trying to be that person, if you're trying to have that control. If you are unintentionally, if you are finding yourself as the swing vote every single week and you don't like it and you don't want it, you're doing something very wrong, because it means that you are seen as the weakest person in the house, the person that is the easiest to pressure and the weakest link in every vote. And that's what's happening with Nicole. And it's, if you didn't know already, a sure sign that you are not looking great in the jury vote, because that's how people view you. And you need to change that perception of yourself if you want to move forward in the game. And so I Nicole really needs to do something about this. She can't keep being this wishy-washy about things like, oh, maybe I will vote out my person because I feel bad or scared or whatever. And that's another thing about this move, is that this 100% looks like Christy's move and not Nicole's move if Nicole does it. So it's bad stuff all around. Again, I do think there are upsides to the idea, but I'm not loving the way that Nicole is handling the situation. She's trying to like talk Christy into this idea that like maybe we can keep Cliff. Maybe let me talk to Cliff. Maybe you can talk to Cliff. Maybe we can get Cliff on board with taking out Jackson and Holly, which, Nicole, you don't need to do this. You don't need to actively play both sides because they're already going after each other. That's what they're telling you. That's what they're promising you. You have this dirt on them now. If anything, what Nicole is doing, again, she's in this coveted middle position. By trying to actively play the middle position and promise things to both sides, she might find herself out of the middle position. If she gets Cliff to promise Christy that he is targeting Jackson and Holly, or if she even just gets Cliff to say to her and then she tells Christy that he's targeting Jackson and Holly, guess what Christy's gonna do? She's gonna run to Jackson and Holly and say, guess what Nicole and Cliff told me? They're targeting you guys. You need to keep Jess. Then Cliff leaves, and now that's the worst possible scenario. And now Nicole is completely on the outs. She doesn't need to be doing any of this, but she's so worried. She's this like big scary dragon of Jackson and Holly that she feels the need to like get everybody on the same page to take them out, when all she needs to do is just sit back and watch them fight it out.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's so hard for her because she's just, I mean, she wants to be able to say that she's done something, and she knows that it's getting down to the wire. She's a fan of the show. So that like, what it feels like when you're the person that everyone is coming to and you need an impetus in order to actually play the game. And I feel like that's sort of like she feels like she's needed permission every single time to make a move, and like sometimes a lesser move is the best move, or no move is the best move. And maybe watching the two sides that are already they've already let you know that they're going to be going after one another, so why not just let them sit, why not sit back and just let it happen? It's rough because I don't like, she just doesn't, she just, I feel like she just lacks that. She doesn't have that initiative that many of the other players do, and they've driven her into a corner, and she is a swing vote. She's the broken swing. Like, you just need to apply more pressure for the swing to do whatever you want it to do, but she doesn't have any autonomy herself, and it's really crappy to watch. I know there's a bunch of Nicole fans out there. Like, I get it, we all love Nicole, but this is like the thing that I usually talk about when people are like, Nicole for AFP or Nicole should win this game. I'm like, but how? How I got, because I feel like as much as we want her to do something, she feels like she can't, or she doesn't know what to do, and it's
yeah. Tommy, Christy, and Jess are going to talk. They think that they can get Nicole, but if they don't, they want Jess to do the other plan, the plan where they go to Christy, or they go to, where Jess goes to Jackson and says that she will put up Nicole. These are the people that Nicole is completely falling hook, line, and sinker for. These people who are like, but if we can't get Nicole, then Jess, you go promise Jackson that you'll put up Nicole. And like, that's the backup plan. Like, again, that's why you can't trust these people. That's why I don't think this is the right move. These are people who are not genuine in their deals, and Nicole should know that. And I think that she does to some extent. I think that she still trusts Cliff more than she trusts them, but she is too willing to like consider these ideas. It's like, I was thinking about it in these terms. I think that Nicole has a loyalty problem, because there's somebody like Jess who has very little loyalty. She ultimately was loyal to Kat, but all through that week, she was very not loyal to Kat. She was like willing to totally let Kat go until finally Kat managed to flip her back over. But Jess has been very disloyal to most of her allies throughout the game, probably the most disloyal person in the game. Nicole has a similar loyalty problem because she is almost too loyal, in the sense that she's too loyal to too many people all the time. She's loyal to people she does not owe any loyalty to, like Jess, like even to some extent Christy or Tommy. Like, whoever is working her at that moment, she feels a sense of loyalty to, and it makes her disloyal in that way, because she's not being loyal to the people that she should be loyal to when she's loyal to people who are working her at the moment. So it's an overabundance of loyalty actually makes her one of the most disloyal people in the game, I think.
I mean, she's like any other kind person. I mean, she likes people that like her. And a lot of it has to do with, the kind of person that she is and the kind of relationships that she's built or not built in the past that have sort of like put her in a position where if somebody's going to show her an ounce of trust, then she's going to return that favor for them. But the fact of the matter is, you have to remember about all of those conversations that took place right in front of your face inside the boat room that you were excluded from, all of those proceedings and wheelings and dealings that went down, and you were an afterthought, or you were just a pawn in somebody else's scheme to save somebody else or themselves. Like, think about that. Is that something that do you honestly, do you remember that? Is that like, is that the person that you want to work with? Is that the person that you want to choose to believe is going to get you to the end? Because if you're gonna save Jess, then it has to be you that spearheads it to the end. That can only be you. You have to rely on yourself, because saving Jess, as we just discussed, is going to open you up to a lot of criticism, and you are one that doesn't do well with that. So think about that. Like, what is the best point for you to go forward with? Think about that. And with who?
Yeah,
because Jess is definitely not one of them. Even if you do save Jess, who's to say that Jess isn't going to turn and flip it on you like the next week? Like, it's I don't like it. I feel her pain. I don't like it either. I feel like it's
yeah. To be clear, I still love Nicole. She's still my favorite person. I still want her to. I don't want her to be in this position where she is constantly. She felt sick last night. Like she's feeling very very stressed about all of these things. I don't want her to be. She doesn't have to be. It's a relatively straightforward week this week, but she just gets pressured on all sides, and it's not great.
It's not. It's tough to watch because I mean it's very rare in this game. I think. I mean, we probably get like a good sweet kind-hearted character in the game every year. But I think that the relationship or we have the relationship that the fans have with Nicole is a little bit unique in that this has been like an ongoing theme for her since the very beginning. And like week by week, we just learn more and more about her as a person and her experiences with other people. And it just makes us feel for her in a way that we typically don't feel for, especially with this season, with the people that we've seen on this season. I feel like it's always kind of been slim pickings for people that we can get behind. So you want to see somebody like Nicole do well. And it sucks that, she's in this position, but I mean, a lot of it she has to blame on herself. A lot of it is for things that were out of her control, but it's a crappy situation nonetheless. But
yeah, I mean, just because I love Nicole does not mean that I am going to hold back when I think she's doing something wrong.
She's not far from criticism at all. Like,
yeah,
it just is what it is.
Yeah, you gotta criticize the people you like just as much as the people you don't like as much. Because who could like anybody as much as Nicole?
I mean, it's a very pivotal week for her, and I'm like, depending on what the outcome is, I'll be interested to see what she says about this particular week in exit interviews. So we'll see.
So Nicole talks to Tommy later in the night. She says she's so stressed about this, and basically here the idea is that she needs to talk to Cliff. She'll get back to Tommy after she talks to Cliff. So. So that's the goal here. That the goal for today on the live feeds is that Nicole is going to talk with Cliff. She's going to see where his head is at, and she's going to get back to Christy, Tommy, and Jess about that, or really mostly getting back to Christy and Tommy. Again, I feel like the goal here is for her to tell them that she thinks Cliff is on board with them to take out Jackson and Holly. That would be a very bad mistake because I think at that point they 100% go to Jackson and Holly and say that Cliff is against them. At which point that's a risk. They'll probably use Jess to do it so that they have some some hands off. But this could get very messy and it could go any way. So I'm very curious to see where this goes. Again, I feel like the chances of Cliff leaving are pretty slim, but they're a lot higher than I thought earlier in the week. Again, I really underestimated the wishy-washiness of Nicole in the game, and so the possibility is definitely open now. This could really go a lot of different ways. I think Cliff is still likely to stay, but it could end up with Cliff and Nicole against Jackson and Holly, and that would be a win for Tommy and Christy. Or it could completely backfire and end up with Christy and Tommy as the definite targets of both Cliff and Nicole. Really could go anyway, so we're going to be keeping an eye on that on the feeds today, and I'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 21 live feeds. Anything else you wanted to talk about, Aman?
No, I'm good. Yeah, I'm excited for the double eviction. It's always interesting to see what happens, and I feel like this is like a special double eviction in that because many of the people that are left all are contenders. Anybody going is a good thing, you know what I mean? So, and typically we don't get that. Typically we get superfluous characters leaving on the double eviction, but that won't be the case this time. So I'm actually going to be on the edge of my seat tomorrow night. So I'm very, very excited.
Yes, and definitely, if Christy and Tommy can pull this off and either keep Jess or just get Nicole and Cliff on their side heading into the double eviction, that's a massive win for them, and they are definitely pulling ahead in the likely winner category in my eyes as that happened. So
honestly, I feel like it's probably the best shot to just keep Cliff. Go get Cliff to go after it, because I mean, like, you guys have to remember that Jackson, he wins everything, and there are a lot of physical competitions that are left. Like, get him out. Like, you're not going to be able to beat him when it comes to these physical comps. Maybe Tommy, because he had so much more in him during that endurance competition. Like, he threw that shit, and I was just like, okay, here we go. You said that you were going to wait until the end to start winning competitions, and you didn't. But I honestly feel like you should just get him out as soon as you can, because if you don't, it's gonna be y'all next. So we'll see.
Yes, I almost forgot. There was an update on the debate of who Holly would target if she won the HOH between Tommy or Christy. Jackson is back toward, he thinks actually that Tommy should be the target, because he thinks that Christy, he believes her to some degree, that she would not come for them in the sense that she would throw the HOH. He thinks that she will want Tommy to do it, and that Tommy is more capable and willing to do it. But Holly's still very firmly set on Christy first, and so it seems like Christy is still the target over Tommy as of right now, if Holly does win that double eviction. So keeping track of that as well, because Holly can win. It's possible.
It is possible. Have we ever been this late into the season with 2 people not being on the block?
I'm sure.
Okay.
It happens a lot.
It's like, I'm like, when is the time coming? Their time is coming, baby. Like, I just want to see it happen.
Yeah. All right, so that's what we have for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 21 live feeds. Tonight, we will have Sam Smith joining us to recap the episode tonight, and then tomorrow we'll be recapping the double eviction. Thursday night should be a lot of fun. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. You can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. Amon, where can people find you?
You can find me at Amon Adwin. Also, Adam and I, for the Are You the One fans, we have another interview coming up with another cast member. I will be mum's the word on which one it is, but it's a good one. It's a juicy one. So keep on the lookout for that.
All right. So thank you once again for joining us. We'll see you next time.